tonight, as we get ready for the 4th of July, which I assume that many of you are, you're looking forward to a day of just enjoying our independence and the freedom that we have. I thought it would be apropos to talk about the liberty that we have in Christ and how that affects our freedom, our everyday freedom, and the liberty that we have and how that we live life. And there are some questions around this that I would like for us to take a look at today. And the questions are the liberties that we have in Christ the same as the liberties that we have in the world? And if they are, how are they the same? And if they are not, how are they different? And then we also want to take a look at how we gain our liberties, because I believe this is a very paramount question to ask. So when we think about our country, we think about America. How did we gain our independence? Well, we had to go to war for it. We had to fight for independence, and a lot of people on both sides lost their lives in order that we could be free, we could be independent. Now that raises another question. The English thought that we were as free as we needed to get. And they thought they were free to tax us as they wanted to tax us, and they could get the revenue, and things appeared to be good for them, but we're saying, no, they're not good for us. So this brings up a lot of questions that really we want to ask about freedoms and about the liberties that we have. So we fight to gain our freedom, or we gain our sovereignty. And our sovereignty is the right to rule ourselves. And when you have the most supreme sovereign, that means that individual has absolute authority in terms of making rules or not making rules, however they see it. Interesting enough, if we think about if everybody had their sovereignty and their right to rule, how might the world be different, let's say, in a person who is psychotic, antisocial, a person that just wanted all the liberties that they could possibly have? How about a psychopath? But I want to be free to do what I want to do. You know, we think about the freedoms that kids would like. There are certain freedoms that they believe they would like. Looking back on our childhood, we might think, well, I want the freedom to be able to say no anytime I want to say no. I want the freedom to be able to eat all the ice cream whenever I want at any time. I want the freedom to go to bed when I want to go to bed and get up when I want to get up. And I want the freedom not to go to school. I want freedom not to have homework and the like. And I want freedom to watch all the cartoons in the world with popcorn. And as we grow older as individuals, we think freedom a little differently. Well, I want the freedom. I'd like freedom to do what I want to do. I'd like to go to work when I want to go to work. I'd like to make this much money. I'd like the freedom to tell that person off. Tell them what I really think about them. And, of course, that could create some problems, but we fight for our freedoms. And so when we don't get our ways in terms of our freedoms or our liberties, we might react. So if you're a 2-year-old, you might throw a temper tantrum. You might throw yourself in the floor, start kicking your feet, start yelling and screaming. And your parents may think that they're free to grab you up by the nape of the neck and the seat of the pants and give you a few swats and the like, and so suddenly your freedom is taken away from you. Now, in the ancient world and also in our world today, there's another way in which people may sometimes get their freedoms, and that is they buy their freedom. Now, that might be okay, and it might work if you've got money to buy your freedom. So if you're rich, and we've seen this in our judicial system, for example, people who are rich are able at times to buy their freedom through the court system. They're able to get out on bail. They're able to avoid jail time. They're able to get away with things. And the poor, on the other hand, I see this oftentimes. And I think about this sometimes when I see people who have this old car and they're stopped on the highway by the highway patrolman, and you're thinking, what chance did they have? Because there's a tendency to pull over an old car than it is to pull over a Mercedes or a Lamborghini and the like, or a Tesla. Because vehicles profile you. If you're in a Tesla, it's saying, wow, this person is environmentally encouraging, taking care of the environment. By the way, this person has some money. And if you're in that one Tesla that evidently they've made that has the ludicrous or something like drive, you go from 0 to 60 in less than about 3.2 seconds. It is faster than a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, battery powered. Just throws you back. So, but if you got a Tesla, if you're bugging along in a Volkswagen bus and you're driving and you're old, well then you're profiled as an old hippie, and there could be some things in your bus that they don't want to be found, and the like. But you might be able to again buy your freedom. You can buy your freedom sometimes by name calling as well. Well, this is who I am, and the like. And then there are those that declare their freedom. Now, self-declaration of freedom. I am free to do what I blank well please. And nobody's going to stop me because I ain't hurting nobody. And I'm just free. I'm not going to shower. I'm not going to shave. I'm not going to clean up. I'm not going to do anything that anybody tells me. I don't care who you are. And we just declare, I'm free. I'm free, and the like. And then in essence, we're independently independent. We think, wow, that sounds pretty good, just independently independent. Maybe we could sell that. We could get what are they, when you sell those little, I'm trying to think of the word, so I'm not thinking independently. When you sell a business, and you've got, it's like a franchise. You can franchise your independence and the like. Well, let's take a look for a moment, though, and I'm going to go with Webster to start off with in terms of how he defines liberty. In Webster, it's first of all defined as freedom from arbitrary or despotic government or control. Now, notice the first thing we talk about is government. And because I think when we think about freedom, it's hard for us not to think about government and how that we, as a country, consider ourselves free. We truly consider ourselves free in that regard. And it's based upon our democratic way of doing things. But we also know that in our democratic way of doing things that we kind of disagree. And I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. There are people who disagree. There's conservatives, there's liberals, there's moderates, and then far left, far right, all of these things. There's disagreement in that regard. But it's about freedom from an arbitrary or despotic government or control. It's also freedom from external or foreign rule, independence. And so when we think about freedom, we think about our independence. Having said all of this and kind of laying a little bit of a foundation for talking about the liberty and the freedom that we have in Christ, let's take a look at what the Apostle Paul tells us in the book of Galatians chapter 5 and verse 1. Because the Apostle Paul was dealing with a problem of freedom, the freedom that the Galatians were having, both the freedom that they had and the freedom that was being taken away from them. And therefore, Paul says to them in verse 1 of chapter 5, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So he's telling them this is the purpose that Jesus has set us free, is that we might truly enjoy freedom.
Feeling the blues today or tired of life already? Do you have questions about life or need spiritual advice? The Worldwide Church of God is located in Fairfield, Santa Rosa, and Modesto, California. We welcome everyone to attend our worship services with us every week at the times listed on your screen.